Let's talk numbers for a moment. Now, statistically, the percentage of people that are going to go straight from your landing page to the contact page is around about 50%. Sometimes more, sometimes less, depends on the nature of your service. Let's call these customers your contact magnets because they're just magnetically drawn straight to the contact page. Now, around about 10% of people are going to really just take their time and browse through every little thing on your detail. They want to know the finest little details. These people we can call the dilly-daddlers. They really like to take their time. They're probably going to want to fill in a contact form. They're probably going to know about some fine details on your website that even you forget about. And the remaining 40% are sort of in between. These customers are sort of heading towards the contact page, but they might take maybe 60 seconds or so to just have a quick browse, click on one or two things here and there, just to sort of quickly suss out if their major questions are already answered. Let's call these customers your swinging voters because they could go either way. Their journey to the contact page could be sped up or slowed down depending on what they see in the process. Now, those numbers are going to depend a lot on the nature of your service. Let's say, for example, you're a therapist, the client is thinking about seeing you to deal with some childhood trauma issues they've been suppressing for 20 years. They're probably going to dilly-daddle around a little bit because it's a very vulnerable thing and they want to get a good feel for you first. Let's say that same customer now has a burst pipe and the house is flooding, they just want to get a plumber out there ASAP. Now suddenly they're going to become a contact magnet because they just want to get someone out there straight away. So it's going to depend a lot. Most businesses are somewhere in between, but those numbers give you a rough idea for most trades and services. But this training is all about priming. Now, for priming purposes, the aim is to reduce the percentage of customers that are those contact magnets. We don't want to get rid of those customers, but what we want to do instead is turn them into one of the other group. So in other words, what we want to do is get them to stop and explore and navigate around the site a little bit. The longer that they're exposed to the site, the more opportunity you have to prime them the way that you want. Now, although we want them to spend more time navigating the site, what we don't want is for them to have to stop and navigate extra because they get lost or they can't find what they're looking for. People are way too impatient these days, and if they can't find what they're looking for, they're just going to click off and go to another site. So what we don't want to do is disrupt their journey to the contact page, but instead, your aim is to distract them along the way. Let me show you what I mean by that. So have you ever had the experience where you walk into a shopping centre knowing exactly what you're going to buy, but somewhere in between the front door and the cash register, you kind of come across something else that takes your attention. It sort of just jumps out at you, makes you go, ooh, look at that. And you end up spending time checking out something or even buying something that you had no intention of when you walked in the first place. Well, big retailers with big bucks to spend on these experts know exactly how this works, and they specifically set up the store for this purpose. Again, they trace every little step that the customer takes throughout the store, where they're going to look, what they're going to think at what different times, and they do this with the intention of trying to place things strategically to grab the customer's attention and get them to buy things that they didn't intend on when they walked in. Classic example, supermarkets. They want you to walk in at the fresh food section. First impressions count. You walk in, you've got the smell of fresh food, the sight of all the different colours. It primes you to feel a little bit more relaxed, to spend a little bit more. And then they put the junk food section at the end because as you're waiting in line, waiting for the person in front of you, in that moment your mind is more likely to justify spending an extra couple of bucks on a cherry ripe than what it would have been able to justify as you're going down the aisles doing your usual grocery shopping list. And here at HiViz, basically what we do is a very similar thing, only for websites rather than retail stores. So if your goal is to prime the customer as much as possible, you've got to remember that the more time that they're exposed to your site, the more they'll be primed. So lesson 4 is to slow down the customer's journey to that contact page as much as possible by placing things there that are going to grab their attention, really stand out and get them to go, ooh, look at that. Basically, we want to get them to spend more time on the site, not because they have to, but because they want to. And of course, the way that you can do that is by understanding how to structure the site.
What changes can be made to your website to distract customers, to slow their journey to the contact page? What kind of distractions can you place on your website so you can stand out and grab the customer's attention? In the next lesson, Stuart gives some specific advice on how to structure your website by labeling your tabs to have an almost magnetic effect on your customer's mind. To demonstrate, he'll show you some specific examples that will make it easy to understand how you can have this effect. So stay tuned for lesson 5 to find out how